We're now at day 5 of 16-year-old KIELY Rodni's disappearance, and if anything, the mystery is deepening even further. Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Once again, what makes this so strange is that it's not just that KIELY has disappeared, but the silver Honda she was driving, apparently while intoxicated as well. So I have a question. Did anyone actually witness KIELY getting into a vehicle? Also, where was the vehicle parked? Where was the Honda parked? Which vehicles were parked next to her vehicle? When did those vehicles leave? What do the Honda's tire tracks reveal? Before we get to the rest of this episode, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Like, share, leave a comment. If you're enjoying the content, be sure to hit the thanks button. And let's get started. It's also frustratingly difficult to include or exclude an abduction. On the one hand, there are no lack of potential candidates in a Kristen Smart type scenario. In that case, she was also under the influence and she was attacked and actually killed on campus. On the other hand, if someone abducted KIELY and took her vehicle as well, how did they get to the party in the first place? I mean, that would look suspicious if a person arrived in a vehicle with somebody else and then didn't need transport from there. Well, then that somebody else would be a witness. So if you're listening to that, you need to contact the authorities. For right now, I'm leaning slightly toward the vehicle drowning in the large bodies of water completely surrounding the camp. And we are seeing quite a few photos of watercraft and sort of search teams set up alongside these bodies of water. There are also a few dirt roads immediately skirting these bodies of water. And bear in mind, water at night, particularly when lights aren't turned on, are invisible. It simply appears as darkness. I know I was driving close to a major river earlier this year at night, pretty scary, even when you are sober. Another possibility is something similar to the disappearance for a month of 32-year-old Courtney Bryan and her dog Booch in Del Norte County, California, just over a year ago. I think it was between September and October last year. In that case, Brian vanished and was found at a crash site off a steep embankment. A hiker ended up stumbling upon a vehicle registered to Brian from Reno, Nevada. In that case, foul play was not suspected as car accidents were common in the area. The other aspect making this case a lot more complicated is the large group of potential witnesses who either aren't or may not come forward because of the activities they were involved with, or because they were simply too out of it to be reliable witnesses anyway. Now, what's quite interesting is some more information has come out about this group. We've found out a little bit more about them, and so according to KRON4, quote, the party was only supposed to be open to those in the Truckee, Tahoe region, but word got out to Grass Valley, Reno, and the Bay Area, and that's according to Sammy Smith, a close friend of KIELY's. So and one presumes that the word got out on social media that they were going to have a party, and a lot of people who weren't really friends with them, basically strangers, pitched up. And so Sammy Smith goes on to say, it grew to be way, way larger than ever expected. We've also found out who KIELY's best friend is. It is Magdalene Larson, and she has apparently said that within only 10 minutes, I literally had a group of 5 guys try to come get me to take as many bong rips as I could forcefully without my boyfriend present. But I think the most ominous message that we've gotten, the most ominous commentary, comes from Sammy Smith, who says, quote, there was a lot of guys that did approach us. Definitely, I was getting a gut feeling that during that party that something just didn't feel right with the amount of people that were there and how old some of these people were. From the amount of people who did show up, it was scary. It was really scary, Smith recalled. So one wonders whether she is overthinking it. So, obviously in this aftermath of this case, she's thinking back and thinking it was perhaps darker and worse than it was, or was it really that bad? Now, the Cleo Smith case in Australia demonstrates that premeditated abductions can happen, but in that case, someone arrived at a remote campground and left in a vehicle. What makes this scenario unlikely here is that the vehicle aspect suggests foul play was opportunistic rather than planned. That's if it happened. Given the current economic climate with higher gas prices and all, who knows? But that would suggest some sort of stranger infiltrated a large group of youngsters. And again, doesn't seem likely, although there is an impression of large groups of strangers rather than a lone wolf scenario. Now, what do we know? Kylie's phone last pinged around 12:33 a.m., about 3 minutes after she was last seen. Crucially, her last text messages indicated the intention to drive, I believe both to her mother and to her friend, Sammy Smith. She'd also just charged her phone a few hours earlier, so it seems unlikely the battery ran down. But this is the last known photo of Kylie taken from video surveillance at 6:08 p.m. in Truckee. What does it tell us? What is obvious? Well, Kylie was young, and because she was young, she was vulnerable, and her levels of intoxication sufficient that she may have been taken advantage of. And you already get some kind of reinforcement to that idea from the descriptions we've already heard. So Kylie would have been one of the youngest people, I think, at this particular party. So this aspect appears to have been definitely present at the party. And crucially, Kylie seems to be one of the few people at the party who arrived and left on her own. Something else that's, I think, worth mentioning is her mother seemed to go to sleep after receiving the text and then didn't really seem to notice when Kylie wasn't there at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. and so on. Basically, her mother woke up, realized she wasn't there, and then raised the alarm. So someone wasn't really watching out for 16-year-old Kylie. So the key ultimately to this question is what happened to the vehicle? But another key is that Kylie was too intoxicated to drive. The obvious conclusion is that Kylie did drive and the car left the road somewhere on the 12 to 13 mile ribbon between the campground and her mother's home. But if it were so simple, why hasn't the expanded search found the vehicle?
If it's so simple, why haven't you done it already?
As time goes by, the likelihood increases that something has been hidden rather than simply lost. One must also ask, if there is a perpetrator, did he have help? Is there one perpetrator or more than one? And now, according to The Independent, and this is talking about a very recent press conference, quote, "We believe that someone knows. Someone saw her, but they're not coming forward." That's according to Nevada County Sheriff's Office Captain Sam Brown. That was during a press conference today. The authorities will need to start identifying everyone who attended the party and interviewing them one by one. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.